Attention, fellow citizens of the United States. Brace yourselves for a seismic shift that's about to rock the very foundation of our nation. Recent reports have revealed that we are currently facing a massive shortage of homes, with a staggering deficit of at least 4 million units. To make matters worse, a significant portion of these homes, a whopping 2 million to be exact, are desperately needed as affordable housing options, particularly in certain areas. Families nationwide are caught in a housing crisis, teetering on the edge of homelessness or settling for subpar living conditions. But hold on tight, because the Biden administration has just unveiled a game-changing plan that could redefine the housing market. This announcement, however, has slipped under the radar, and the implications are monumental. Picture this, a looming crisis as the Biden administration unveils a groundbreaking plan to protect tenants and dramatically slash rental costs. And guess what? No one seems to be talking about it. Now, let's delve into the nitty-gritty. Home buyers are already feeling the heat with skyrocketing mortgage rates. This isn't just about real estate, it's about the very fabric of the American dream hanging in the balance. Fasten your seatbelts, because institutional investors are eyeing almost half of all single-family rentals in the next 6 years. Yes, you heard it right. These deep-pocketed giants are targeting the same properties everyday Americans aspire to own. Before I go on, please take 2 seconds to help me out and hit the like button, and please subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Each like and subscribe is fuel for the algorithm that helps support this channel. Thank you. Now, back to what I was saying. I hate to break it to you, but we're at a crossroads regarding the middle class. This is a pivotal moment for 99% of us to open our eyes and see what's really going on around us. The reality is that the rich are only getting richer, and they're doing it at an alarmingly quick rate, while the rest of us are barely staying afloat. Have you considered the potential consequences if almost half of all single-family rentals are controlled by institutional investors? It's crucial to be aware of these facts, because the results may not be favorable for the tenants. Institutional investors are driven by profit, and their actions may harm the rental market. Rents will inevitably increase alarmingly, leaving tenants with limited options. While there may be a brief respite initially, the long-term outlook is likely to be bleak. Institutional investors are motivated to maximize their profit margins, which may increase rents to even more unaffordable levels, making it challenging for low to middle income renters to secure housing. The average property will set you back a whopping $416,000, and if you were hoping to rent it out, be prepared for some grim math. Even with 20% down, a hefty $83,000, you'll still be looking at a monthly payment of $3,500. And how many folks out there are pocketing $10K a month to cover that kind of expense? Not many, that's for sure. But wait, it gets worse. When we look back at the big picture, we see that institutional investors are poised to gobble up a staggering 40% of all single-family rental homes within the next 6 years. That's right, these massive corporations and deep-pocketed investors are targeting the same properties that everyday Americans struggle to afford. It's an alarming sign of the growing wealth gap in our society. The wealthy elite are snapping up valuable real estate at an unprecedented rate, leaving the rest of us struggling to keep up. And as home prices continue to soar, it's becoming increasingly clear that the dream of home ownership is slipping further and further out of reach. If you're planning to purchase a property outright with cash, you need to know that it will no longer be subject to the same rules and guidelines as other properties in the market. Institutional investors will have even more control over the housing market as they outbid those buying properties for personal use or rental properties, such as Airbnbs or vacation homes. Our Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, has said that without access to stable housing and affordable rent, it is next to impossible for folks to extricate themselves from unemployment and financial insecurity. The inability to build a comfortable safety net leaves families vulnerable to the imminent threat of eviction and homelessness. The administration's recent 5-year plan to increase housing supply is a step in the right direction, but we need more aggressive action to tackle this problem. If we do not take immediate action, the housing crisis will only worsen, leaving families without adequate shelter. To mitigate this crisis, the government must implement policies that encourage the construction of millions of new homes. One solution is to tap into existing programs like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which back 12 million rental units through a federal program established by Congress. This program is managed by the Housing Finance Agency, which oversees financing of $150 billion annually. The agency supports landlords purchasing mortgages for approximately a quarter of all multifamily dwellings across the country. By utilizing these programs, the government can push for more affordable housing options, reducing the burden on families struggling to pay rent or secure a mortgage. The White House released its proposal to uphold the Bill of Rights earlier this year and included a crucial element regarding rent regulation. They suggest that the most successful way to regulate rent would be applying a cap on annual rent increases. Set a maximum of 3% across all properties safeguarded by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, let's take a moment to really consider this 3% rent hike. On the surface, it may seem like a positive measure to prevent landlord price gouging and to keep rents affordable for tenants. However, we must delve deeper into the potential outcomes of such a policy. A 3% annual increase may appear reasonable initially, but we must consider the long-term implications. Over a decade, that seemingly small increase could lead to a 30% or even 40% hike in rent, making it increasingly difficult for renters to afford to live in their homes. In fact, we're now witnessing a trend where many of them are being forced out of their properties entirely. It's a harsh reality that we must confront head-on if we hope to protect the American housing market. The problem is that opportunistic investors are poised to swoop in and take advantage of this situation. They're incredibly eager to get their hands on these properties and willing to pay cash. It's a tempting proposition as the return on investment could be huge, but at what cost? I'm talking about a potential shift in the market that would see an enormous amount of property turnover. Over 20 million of the 50 million rental units across the U.S. are owned by mom-and-pop landlords. In other words, individual investors. That means these small businesses own 40% of the entire housing market. If they're forced out, there's a risk that these properties could end up in the hands of large corporations or wealthy investors, causing a significant consolidation of wealth. It's about to get really tough for most people to purchase a property. Why? Unfortunately, not many small investors will be looking to buy properties either. This isn't because of personal preferences, but due to the bleak financial circumstances of most buyers. Let me explain. With rising living costs, it's becoming increasingly difficult for people to scrape together all cash payments for properties. It's just not feasible for the majority. Instead, most buyers are only able to afford a 3.5%, 4%, 5% or 6% down payment, which is better than nothing, but still not enough to close a deal. Let me come straight to the point. It means that the demand for properties will far outweigh the supply. That's right, folks. The competition will be fierce, and only a few will secure a property. This, in turn, will lead to skyrocketing property prices. Sadly, all of this will happen while most buyers are left out in the cold. The latest data from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reveals that a shocking 8.53 million households are currently living in appalling conditions without any form of government housing assistance to help them out. Many of these struggling households are stuck in severely inadequate rental properties, while others are being clipped for over half of their meager income just to keep a roof over their heads. We are on the brink of a technological shift that will change our lives as we know them. While it won't happen overnight, in the next 5 to 7 years, you'll begin to see its impact in more significant ways. This means we must be prepared for the inevitable changes this technology will bring, including the potential for real wages to soften as it becomes more prevalent. Those in positions of power are already recognizing this reality. The White House itself has recently released a statement on the issue, acknowledging the critical importance of housing security. A lack of adequate, affordable, and safe housing is a significant challenge faced by communities across the country. This is because housing quality and security directly impact both our health and well-being, making it a matter of utmost importance to address. Experts predict a significant rug pull that could lead to a domino effect of financial ruin. You must prepare yourself and take action immediately. To protect yourself from possible economic disaster, it's recommended that you secure a stable business or employment opportunity. This will at least put you in a vehicle to drive you closer towards financial security and your ability to purchase property. Be aware of the situation and make thoughtful, informed decisions to protect your financial future. The consequences of inaction could be ugly. Thanks for watching, and please make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a comment below letting me know what steps you plan to take to safeguard your wealth.